Okay, so this is topic B in front of you, and let us understand all the important formulas for this. So, first of all, we are going into the topic B1, which is thermal energy transfer. Actually, this topic is divided into two segments, and one segment is named as calorimetry, and it is up to this, like all these formulas can be thought of coming from a topic calorimetry, in which they are talking about like we are mixing two fluids. One fluid is maintaining at a higher temperature, another fluid is at a lower temperature. We are mixing those two fluids together. Those kind of things we would be doing in this part. So the formulas that are given here is, first of all, the density, that is mass divided by volume. So even this is very important, and this formula has been used a couple of times in the topic D1 gravitation also, when they say that there are two planets and they have the same density something. So there also we are going to use this. So although this formula is very simple, but I have seen students um, getting confused here. Okay, so do not be get confused here. This is density, mass, and volume. Okay, now what is this? This is um, the formula for average kinetic energy, and it can be written as average kinetic energy per molecule. Okay, like average kinetic energy, it is defined per mole. Also, it can be defined for different segments, but in IB they are usually going for average kinetic energy for one molecule, and that is clearly given by 3 by 2 kbt. So we were talking about the Boltzmann constant earlier, like when are we going to use the Boltzmann constant. So the first instance when we are talking about the Boltzmann constant is in the topic B1, clearly in front of you. Now, this has an integral relation with internal energy that we are going to see in thermodynamics, and um, uh, that formula that we are going to use for the internal energy can be derived and linked to this formula directly. Okay, so I'm not going for the details. The internal energy formula is completely discussed in thermodynamics part. We would be discussing that in B4, so no problem. But all the lectures are again available for the topic B1. They are absolutely free of cost. You can go there and you can watch the complete calorimetry. Some of the examples are also given there, so you can see them. So there are two types of heats. One is Q is equal to MC delta T. Now, this heat is given a name, like it has a name, but that name is not used in your syllabus as of now. Like I have not seen your teachers using this terminology, and neither your books. But this heat is called sensible heating. Sensible heating means that it makes sense that when you give heat to a substance, the temperature is increasing, or when you take away the heat, the temperature will be falling. That makes sense. But this is a different kind of a heat. Now, don't call it nonsensical heat, but we are going to call it latent heat. Latent means the heat which is hidden. It means that you are providing heat to the substance, but the substance is not changing its temperature. Now the question is, why is it not changing temperature? Because that the energy that you have given is used to break some bonds, and that is why it is changing the state from solid to liquid, liquid to gas kind of thing, but the temperature is not increasing. So this formula is the latent heat. So nothing much to add here, by the way, from my side. So I have not written any new formula. So if you go for these calorimetry lectures, there is one thing which is very important, and that is how to do those questions when you are mixing two fluids, like you're mixing ice with the water or whatever. So there is this kind of diagram. I'm just drawing it here, and I want you to refer to this diagram there. Like at this point, it is the steam. So this is ice at negative 10 degrees centigrade. I'm taking an example. The latent heat is given, and now you are having ice at 0 degrees centigrade. After that, the latent heat ml is given. The latent heat of fusion is given there. So you convert it into water at 0 degree centigrade. And now this water at 0 degrees centigrade is given sensible heating, and so the temperature of that increases. So temperature is increasing like this, and it goes to up to 100 degrees C water, and after that the water has to convert itself into steam. So this kind of questions will be there, and my advice to you is please watch those lectures of the topic B1, find this thing, and you could be getting one question on this in paper 2. That is why this part is very important. Now, going to the next part, the other part that we are discussing, that starts from this place, and this is literally heat transfer. Now, heat transfer was also there earlier in old syllabus. Calorimetry was also there in the old syllabus. But in the old syllabus, this formula was not considered. We were not considering the Fourier's law. This formula is also having a name. It is known as Fourier's law. But again, the books are silent on that. They are just saying this is how the conduction works. So it is used in the conducting heat through the walls. Like let's say this is infinitely long wall, and this side of the wall, like you're talking about kind of pressure cooker, kind of boiler in the thermal power plants kind of thing. So there is this wall there. The inside temperature could be very high, and the outside temperature will be very low. So the heat will be getting transferred like this. So it is always having a linear variation. That is why I have drawn this. So I have discussed this thing also in complete details in my lectures. This thing is completely new for your syllabus, and it has not been covered extensively in the new books. But I have given you complete details for this. So do not forget to watch this lecture at least. Now, this is about the Fourier's law, and on it, I tell you, I was expecting that there could be one paper two question on this, and you would be surprised. There was one question on Fourier's law that has been asked by IB in May 2025, paper 2 times on 2. You can even go and watch it, and you can see that question, that yes, this question is there. Okay, now what is this? Delta Q by delta T. And one more thing here I would like to point. Q is equal to MC delta T. This Q is the heat and T is the temperature. There is no time factor. But as you move into heat transfer, you add a new factor to your equation, and that is the time. So it is the total heat which is getting transferred from one point to another, and you are having the total time also. Okay, so it's the variation of heat transfer with respect to time. That is why these things are different. So K is the coefficient of thermal conductivity, like how good is the conductor or the properties there. You might be talking about the metal, you might be talking about the wood. So the K value will be given to you. A is the total surface area of the wall here. So bigger is the wall, of course, more will be the heat transfer. Delta T is the change in the temperature here from 500 to 25. So bigger is the temperature difference, more becomes the heat transfer. Okay. And delta X is this distance. You can call it length, you can call it width, you can call it L, whatever. So this is how you write this. Moreover, one more information, delta T by delta X. What is this? Delta T by delta X is actually the gradient of this slope, because on the y-axis you have the temperatures, and on the x-axis you have delta X. So delta T by delta X is actually the slope of this straight line. Okay, so that might be helpful for you in solving your paper 2 questions. That is why I've told you in this video. If you want to know more, you have to watch the lectures, which are freely available on the YouTube channel. I'm pointing to that again. The link will be shared in the description box. Okay, so everything about this is done, and this is very important. Please practice more questions on Fourier law, I'm warning. Now, after that, you are moving into the radiation part. Convection part is not that very much in our syllabus, and convection is very difficult to handle, so it's never taught in 11th and 12th grades. In regards to convection, there's only one thing that I can tell you. Convection is like it happens in liquids. Like this is the vessel, and the liquid is this, and so it is rising like this. So there are convectional currents which are created inside the liquid. The question that you are going to get in paper 1b is not this. The question will be, under what circumstances conduction can happen in liquids? Under what condition the conduction will be the only mode of heat transfer in the case of liquids. Of course, not only, because radiation will always be there, but anyways, I mean to say that convection is not there in the liquid, but conduction is happening. So that is happening, that happens if, let's say, this vessel is filled to the brim and it is heated from a lid which is placed at the top. So this liquid will be getting hotter and this will be colder. So this hotter liquid is having lesser density. It always has a tendency to go up. So this is not able to go up. That is why the heat is going to be transferred only and only by the process of conduction, that even in the liquids. So this is that kind of an information which is usually not taught in the classrooms, not written in the books, and it's kind of a hidden knowledge or very specific knowledge. But this could be one of the questions that IB might ask you sometime in paper 1A. Okay, so this is convection, everything is done. Now let us concentrate on radiation. Radiation has always been important for IB, not only for this syllabus but for the previous syllabus also, because the same formulas we are going to learn in the greenhouse effect, that is the topic B2. So of course this part is very, very important. Now, what is happening here? Please be careful. First of all, I have written that this is the Stephen Boltzmann law. And of course, yes, this is Stephen Boltzmann law. But the formula for that is power is equal to E sigma A T raised to power 4. This is the exact formation of Stephen Boltzmann law. And you can clearly see it. Even I have forgotten to write that formula at that time in the data booklet. I would be adding that soon. So P is equal to E sigma A T raised to power 4. So P is the power, like this is the hot body, and it is radiating some heat energy. And so we are talking about this very power. What is the amount of energy radiated by this body per unit time? That is called the power. So power is written as E sigma A T 4 T raised to power 4. Let me tell you, E is the emissivity, sigma is the Stephen Boltzmann constant, the value of which is given in the data booklet already, 5.67 10 to the power negative 8. A is the surface area of this lumped system or the body, the surface area. There are so many types of A's in this kind of topic. So you have to be very, very careful which area are you particularly talking about. Like for example, you talk about the sun. So this area is the surface area of the sun. Okay. And the T is the surface temperature. We are not concerned with the core temperature of the sun. We are only concerned with the temperature at the surface, and which is 6,000 degrees centigrade, okay, from the sun point of view. So this is the Stephen Boltzmann law. And the same thing, which is written as power here, the same thing is written as luminosity. It's actually the same thing, but when you talk about the astronomical bodies, you do not call it power, you just give it a new name so that there is no confusion. It becomes more specific and you start calling it luminosity. So I have written here that luminosity is actually same as that of the power. And in this case, you are taking the astronomical body as a black body. So when you take it as a black body, E is substituted as 1. That is why there is no E here in this formula. Please be concerned here. It's a very important concept. How are you converting this into this? So this is the black body and emissivity is 1. So this becomes your formula for the luminosity. Now, there is another thing. Like let's say this is the sun and it is giving out some energy. but the earth is at this distance away from the sun. So when the sunlight is reaching earth, or it is going to somewhere else, the amount of power that earth is getting, it reduces, because the all the power which is produced by sun is being shared in a very big volume or a very big surface area here. So this surface area is again 4 pi r square, but now I'm talking about the surface area of the other sphere, not the surface area of sun. Be very careful that now we call this as intensity of the sunlight. Intensity of the sunlight is the power of the sun divided by the total surface area in which that energy is distributed. So we are not talking about the surface area here. So this I am writing it as 4 pi capital R square. Be very careful. So this is the power, and this is this. So this is intensity. In the case of astronomical bodies, we again have a new name for this, and this is known as apparent brightness. And this P will be replaced with the luminosity, and you have created another formula for yourself, which is apparent brightness. I've given the complete detailed explanation for this in the lectures. So this is the apparent brightness. Okay, the same thing is known as solar constant under some context. So be very careful. Like, you have to watch this lecture to understand it better, and the value of that is written as 1360 watt meter square. So whether you call it intensity of sunlight, or you call it apparent brightness, or you call it the solar constant, one is the same thing. All of these three things are absolutely same. Okay, so this formula is explained completely, and I have written the same information here. Intensity or solar constant or the apparent brightness, they're all the same things. The one last thing for the topic B1 is the Wien's law. Again, it is very important. The formula is in front of you. Lambda max into T is equal to this constant, and the SI unit is also given. It is not millikelvin. Be very careful. It is meter Kelvin. Another thing, this lambda max. So this is a misnomer. I can write it here that lambda max is not the maximum wavelength. It is not the maximum wavelength. It is the wavelength at which the intensity is maximum. Like, I can say that in the sunlight, the intensity of yellow color is maximum. So you're talking about the wavelength of yellow, not the wavelength of red. Although wavelength of red is more than yellow, we are not interested in the maximum wavelength. We are interested in the wavelength of the radiation which is having the maximum intensity, like that. So this is everything about the topic B1, and the lectures on that, they are available on the YouTube channel, which are free of cost to watch. Please do watch these lectures. Okay, so B1 is done, and it has taken a lot of time. I would be going for B2 and B3 in the next video. All the best.